My father always said family was everything. That's why what happened after his death nearly destroyed us all. When my father passed away at the age of 72, he left behind a successful construction company, 3 properties, and enough savings to ensure his children would never struggle financially. There were only 2 heirs, my older brother Daniel and me. At least, that's what I believed. 3 days after the funeral, Daniel called a family meeting. Everyone gathered in my father's living room, the same room where we had celebrated birthdays, holidays, and family milestones for decades. Daniel stood up holding a thick folder. His face was unusually confident. Then he said something that changed everything. Dad left everything to me. The room went silent. I laughed. I honestly thought it was a joke. But Daniel wasn't smiling. He opened the folder and placed a document on the table. A will. According to the document, my father had supposedly decided 6 months before his death to leave every asset, every property, every dollar, and the entire company to Daniel alone. I received nothing, not even a small percentage. My hands started shaking. That didn't make any sense. My father had always treated us equally. He constantly spoke about fairness. Even a week before his death, he had told me, "Everything I built belongs to both of my children." Yet somehow I had been completely erased. The rest of the family looked stunned. My aunt questioned Daniel immediately. "Why would your father do that?" Daniel shrugged. He said I was more responsible. The answer sounded rehearsed. Something felt wrong, very wrong. But I had no proof. Over the following weeks, Daniel moved quickly, almost too quickly. He transferred ownership of company assets. He sold one of the properties. He changed the locks on my father's vacation home. He even removed my name from several family records connected to the business. It felt as though he was trying to erase me from my father's legacy. Every time I questioned him, he gave the same response. The will is legal. The more confident he acted, the more suspicious I became. Then something happened. One evening, I visited my father's former office. The building was mostly empty. His desk remained untouched. As I sat there looking through old paperwork, I noticed something unusual. Behind a bookshelf was a locked cabinet. I had never seen it before. After finding a spare key hidden inside a drawer, I opened it. Inside were old journals, tax records, business contracts, and one sealed envelope. My name was written on the front. My heart nearly stopped. The envelope contained a handwritten letter from my father. The letter was dated just 2 months before his death. As I read it, tears filled my eyes. The letter said, "If you are reading this, something has gone terribly wrong." My father explained that he had recently become concerned about Daniel's behavior. He believed Daniel had become obsessed with money. More importantly, he feared someone might attempt to alter his estate plans. Then came the sentence that changed everything. "The original will is secured with my attorney." Original will? What did that mean? The document Daniel presented couldn't be the real one. The next morning, I contacted my father's attorney. At first, he refused to discuss anything, but after I explained the letter, he agreed to meet. When I arrived at his office, he looked nervous, very nervous. He opened a safe. Inside was another will, one I had never seen before. The attorney explained that this document had been signed years earlier and updated multiple times. Unlike Daniel's version, this will divided everything equally between both children, exactly as my father had always intended. The attorney was confused. He had never received instructions to replace it. That meant only one thing. Someone had created a fraudulent document, and there was only one person who benefited. Daniel. The attorney immediately launched an investigation. What they discovered was unbelievable. The signatures on Daniel's will were inconsistent. Witness records were questionable. Dates didn't match. Even worse, surveillance records revealed Daniel had visited the office shortly before my father's death, far more often than anyone realized. As evidence piled up, the truth became impossible to ignore. My brother had forged the will. But the biggest twist was still coming. During the investigation, financial auditors uncovered secret transactions. Daniel hadn't just tried to steal the inheritance. He had been siphoning money from the family business for years, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Funds had been redirected into hidden accounts, luxury purchases, private investments. Everything was documented. The betrayal was far bigger than anyone imagined. Soon the case reached court. Family members who once supported Daniel began distancing themselves. Friends stopped answering his calls. Business partners abandoned him. For the first time, he looked scared. Weeks later, the judge delivered a decision. The fraudulent will was declared invalid. The original will was reinstated. Assets were divided according to my father's wishes, equally. But Daniel's problems were only beginning. The financial misconduct investigation continued. Several assets were frozen. Additional legal actions followed. The fortune he fought so hard to steal was slipping through his fingers. Meanwhile, the company was placed under new management. Employees who had feared losing their jobs finally felt secure. My father's legacy survived. Not because of greed, but because the truth eventually surfaced. Months later, I visited my father's grave. For a long time, I simply stood there, thinking about everything that had happened. The lies, the betrayal, the destruction of a family. And one lesson became painfully clear. Money doesn't reveal character, it exposes it. When everything was on the line, my father trusted that the truth would eventually win. And somehow, it did. As I walked away, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Peace. Not because I received my inheritance, but because my father's final wishes had been honored. And because justice had finally caught up with the person who betrayed us all.